With beautiful pastures, rolling hills, and waterfront wonders, the Saanich Peninsula is not only a stunning destination, it's also rife with local flavors. And from blooms to beverages, fur to fantastic farm food, I'm off to explore this world of gastronomic delight on the Greater Victoria Flavour Trail. To start off this Flavour Trail adventure, I explore my budding interest in all things floral at the iconic Butchart Gardens. Founded in 1904 by Robert and Jenny Butchart, the gardens have over 1 million annual visitors, and families, locals, and tourists are all able to enjoy the color and fragrance year-round. The property includes 55 acres of gardens, 9,000 bedding plant varieties, and 50 full-time gardeners, including Carlos, who I meet among the roses. So Carlos, we're in the rose garden?
Yeah, this is the Butchart Rose Garden. So it was originally developed in the early 1900s. And it's one of our more formal gardens that Mrs. Butchart developed. It's one of the only gardens as well that we actually name all the plant material in here.
You name all the plant material?
Yeah, and this is the only garden that we do that in, that we actually have plants labeled.
Is this what the signs mean then? Because they seem random to me.
Yeah, they do. They might seem random, but they're very specific to us. They will say the name of the rose itself, the variety. They'll say the country of origin and the year it was developed and who the breeder was initially.
The breeder?
Yeah, whoever developed the rose. So roses are kind of a unique plant that they might get developed by cross-pollinating seeds or bud grafting, but it's a very unique science to try and develop certain parts of roses like fragrance, color, size, flower, that sort of thing.
That's super interesting. I think of breeding as in like dogs or cats.
Yeah, well,
But the same process with roses.
Same twist happens with roses.
There are over 250 varieties of roses in this garden alone, with 2,500 individual plants. The next place we'll explore is the beautiful Japanese garden.
Hey, so now we're coming into one of my favorite spots in the Japanese garden. And these are one of our signature plants that we actually display here at the gardens, and they're Tibetan blue poppies.
They're stunning.
Yeah, so the unique thing about this is Mrs. Butchart was actually known to have sourced this seed originally years and years ago, and she was one of the first people to have developed this flower in Canada. So it actually worked out really well.
Where did she source them from?
Well, the nice thing about Mrs. Butchart, she became so well known that people would actually reach out to her and say, I found this. So somebody came back and said, I found this unique seed. And then she would acquire it and then bring it in. And so much like we do today, we're always looking for the newest and best plant material to try and grow and display for people.
Bring them to you.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I love this little nook we're in. It feels like this tranquil little spot in your massive garden.
This is one little small portion of a 55-acre garden, a 55-acre estate. You think about Mrs. Butchart. So she developed these gardens. She had her Japanese garden, she had her Italian garden, her sunken garden, which is a signature garden, as we've seen, and which used to be the old quarry. So she just kept developing these areas, and it's just a testament to her, really. You know, she was a gardener landscaper, and she started landscaping around her home. Speaking of feeling at home,
they also have an amazing gelato menu with over 12 rotating flavors. And since you can always count on me to find the food, I'm heading there next.
So we have 3 flavors for you today. So we have our wildflower honey and lavender, as well as the amarena cherry, and then a sparkling peach sorbetto. It's a dairy-free option, and we actually make it with a sparkling wine paired with the peach. It's a nice little combination of flavors, very refreshing for the summertime.
I think it's awesome. I think I would have no idea it's vegan and doesn't have any dairy in there whatsoever, actually.
Yeah, we try to keep our balance of ingredients pretty good, so it's a nice smooth texture for you, and the balance of flavors is a good combination there.
While ice cream is traditionally more egg and cream based, gelato is more milk based. And in the process of making it, they actually whip less air into it, which gives it a creamy texture. How much gelato do you sell in the summer?
In the summer, that's a pretty broad question, but as far as Fireworks Saturday in a normal year here, we can sell 100 tubs.
How big is a tub?
A tub is just in the display there, so it's about 4 liters or so.
About 20 scoops.
About 20 scoops, yeah.
So you're selling about 400 liters of ice cream in a busy night?
On a busy night, it can be, yeah.
Times 100 nights that are busy a year. That's incredible.
Yes, it's quite high volumes, and we take quite big amount of pride in how much we stay consistent with the balance of textures and flavors.
Yeah, if you're making this product at that kind of volume, that's absolutely remarkable. And thank you for sparing this much for me.
Yes, no, thank you for trying, yeah.
From beautiful gardens to a beautiful farm, welcome to Seasider. Opening its farm gate in 2007, owner Kristen Jordan bought the property with a vision of creating an organic farm and orchard that would produce artisanal ciders. Since then, they've grown to an annual cider production of over 7,000 cases, with every bottle packaged right in their on-site bottling room. They're very proud of their cider house for drinks and nibbles on the patio. They're renowned for their weddings and group events where they can cater both their food and drink menus to any event of any size. I start with a farm tour.
Beautiful early season morning here at Seasider. Kristen, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming out to the orchard.
My pleasure. We're definitely early, obviously, and things are just about to get going. So as we're walking through here, what do we have? What kind of trees do we have amongst us?
So we've got a number of different varieties of cider apple trees right here. And one of the ways you can tell that they're different varieties is that they're at different stages of the growing season. So in our orchard, we've got over 60 varieties of cider apples.
Cider apples.
And with 60 different varieties, they all are on different timelines as far as pollination and harvest. So a tree like this that's starting to bloom now, it'll be blooming for a few weeks, and once the blooms are finished, they'll of course be turning into really small apples. You'll start to see those apples coming around end of May, and then growing through the summer, and this variety will be starting to harvest in September.
When they're making their cider, they want different apples that bloom at different times in the season, because each variety of apple brings a unique flavor profile. They break those flavors down into sweets, sharps, bittersweets, and bitter sharps. This gives their cider the complexity and character that it's known for.
There's sort of an art and a science to it. So the science, what we do is we'll tend to press similar apples together. And so all of our bitter sweets we would be pressing together, and separating those from the sharps. We'd be pressing those separately. And then it's at the time of blending where really the magic happens, where the art happens, and our cider making team decides how much proportion of the bittersweet cider do we want, how much proportion of the sharp cider do we want to put them together to create a really palatable union. And when we started Seasider and decided to plant 60 different varieties of cider apples, it was with the idea that we could produce a range of styles of cider, essentially kind of a cider for every palate.
Yeah, that's
basically kind of showcasing what cider apples can really do in cider.
Speaking of cider, I think it's about time that we taste some, so we head up to their beautiful patio to do just that.
Well, I thought I'd start you off with the Wild English.
Okay, why that one?
This is one of our estate ciders, which means the apples that go into this cider are all grown here. But basically the story behind Wild English is that it is our take on a really traditional Herefordshire style cider. So you're going to notice dryness, astringency, phenolics, which is that kind of minerality that you would get in a traditional English cider.
Yeah, it is definitely very bright and crisp, but I can see how it's traditional.
Yeah, now for something more innovative. The next one up for you is called Ruby Rose, and this is actually still a cider. We've fermented apples, but then we've infused the cider with rhubarb and rose hips. Ruby Rose is part of our Canadian Invasion series of ciders.
Okay.
And those ciders are ones that are traditional in the fermented apple sense, but they've been infused with something else that would be typically grown here at the farm or on the island. like rhubarb.
And that's the Canadian invasion.
Proceeds from this cider support work that organizations like the Nature Conservancy are doing to protect natural areas. This last one I'm pouring for you is part of our temperance series of juices. So these are our non-alcoholic ciders where we've juiced the apples, and then in this case we added blackberries as well. So for those people that prefer something non-alcoholic, we got you covered.
Well, thank you for having me on this beautiful early summer day on your patio to try the cider.
Thanks for coming out, Caleb.
This is Snowden House, located in North Saanich. Unlike traditional farms, Snowden House is a fur farm founded by Laura Winters in 2007. They're best known for their farm shop, where they sell unique products they make with their own flowers, herbs, and of course, their fir trees.
Thank you for having me on this amazing day on your farm.
Well, it's a different kind of farm.
Yeah, it's a little unorthodox. So
It is unorthodox.
You're a fir farm, right?
Well, all these trees were initially planted as Christmas trees,
These fir trees.
these fir trees.
Yeah.
And it takes about 6 years for a tree to grow to the right size before you can harvest it as a Christmas tree.
Okay.
So when you're growing Christmas trees, they have to be pruned a lot, and there's a lot of maintenance. About 6 years ago, I came out of the field hot and bothered and threw a branch into a pot of strawberries on the stove.
Yeah.
It didn't taste great, but
Just
it
boiled
tasted
branch.
okay.
Yeah.
And who knows who was hanging on that branch when it went into the pot on the stove. I'm sure there was a critter or two. So over the last 5-6 years, I've refined the process. It's a very narrow window of time, is my best product. And we now make, I believe it's 10 different products from the fir trees.
From the fir trees
So rather
themselves.
than having them all cut down and have to replant them, we're actually picking a crop yearly.
I love how you're farming fir trees
Yeah.
for product. That's so unique and unorthodox.
Fir tree farming is all about timing, and although these trees aren't quite ready for harvest, Laura shows me what they're looking for from the fir tips.
So what I want is this brown papery coat to be gone before
Okay.
I pick.
Okay, this little bit right there.
And because it's got a resin in it and it sticks to your fingers and it's staticky. But what I really want is this succulent lime green tip.
It's stunning. And a little bit bigger than that, or that size?
Oh no,
Is that
much
kind of
bigger
perfect?
than that. I want it almost this long.
Oh wow, big. So like a nice big growth.
A nice big growth. I don't want it so that it's got a lot of stem in it.
Yeah.
I just want the tip.
Although there were 2,500 trees planted initially, there are about 1,500 now, which is still a lot of trees to harvest. When harvest time comes, it's about a 2-week process.
So you just pick as many as you want over a 2-week period.
As much as I think I need. I don't want to pick any more than I need because it's a very labor-intensive process. So I have a lot of, my staff will come out and pick, and I have a lot of friends that they'll come in and then I'll cook a big dinner at the end of the season.
Amazing.
And we all have a really good time socially that way.
Seeing the trees grow is super cool, but I want to know what they taste like, and Laura doesn't disappoint.
What I've done today is we've taken our Douglas fir seasoning blend and paired it with goat cheese.
Okay.
And then I've made our West Coast bread, which is this one here. Added a bottle of the fir essence.
Okay.
Stirred it, put it in a loaf pan, and it rises in the oven.
Just as simple as that. So just the package and the essence.
Or soda. If you don't have essence, you can use soda water, as long as
Okay.
it has to be something that's sparkling.
Delicious 2-ingredient bread sounds pretty great to me, and they have so many amazing flavors. They also sell in-house made preserves and their own take on sparkling.
This is our non-alcoholic fir essence.
Amazing, yeah. I'd love to try it.
So, cheers.
Cheers. Sweet. That's so good. And what's in there? Tell me about how you made that.
It's our Douglas fir vinegar
Okay.
that I changed the recipe on and I carbonate it.
That's so good. It'd be delicious with like some gin in there, to be honest.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Vinegar is also one of their big sellers, and they have plenty to choose from.
We have a rhubarb vinegar that's our rhubarb, a lemon verbena, the nasturtium, a rose and cardamom, the lavender, and then all the Douglas fir vinegars. So already alone, it's about 15 that we grow everything here.
And in case you didn't think that was enough, they also make various flavors of dips, their own clothing, raise chickens for eggs, and...
The other thing we do is we do a lot of gift packaging, so we make our own paper and
Really?
then cut it into boxes.
What don't
And
you make?
so this box has recycled aluminum cans on it, gold leaf, and it's got some recycled polyester in this paper. So then it's just a small bottle of the preserve put in a wedge as a topping for brie as a gift pack.
That's so cool. I love that idea.
And that, my friends, is the Snowden House experience. From fur to food, this is 10 Acres Farm in North Saanich. 10 Acres is best known for their 4 unique dining establishments, including 2 gorgeous Sydney locations and their 2 iconic downtown Victoria locations, with sprawling patios and indoor space perfect for group events. Their unique menu features locally sourced ingredients, many of which are grown on this 10-acre parcel of land. Farmer Charlie shows me around, and he's full of beans.
These are the broad beans. Like we seed these on November. And I know now it seems crazy, it just seems like a forest, but like for all winter, we were just like waiting for the beans to come out. And by the end of the winter, you see this tiny little sprouts coming, and they don't grow much for all the winter, they don't grow much at all. And then come spring, and they just explode like a rocket. They just go up.
Broad beans are used as a cover crop, which is a way of protecting exposed soil over the winter months and maintaining soil quality and fertility.
Another really cool thing about broad beans, like the coolest thing actually about
I
broad
want to see
beans,
the coolest thing.
is that if you pull them out,
Yeah.
and like for example, this is the root, and other than like taking nutrients out of the soil, like broad beans give nutrients back. So they have these things called nodules, which are like nitrogen fixing nodules that are in the roots, and you could actually see them if you look really carefully. You'll see like these little white balls around the root. That's literally the plant like grabbing nitrogen and storing it there. And then once we're done with this crop, we kind of like mow it all down, and then this nitrogen is available for the next crop that we do here.
From broad beans to asparagus, Charlie has even more fun farm facts for me. Say that 3 times fast.
Asparagus is a perennial crop, so it stays in the ground like for 15 years, I think is like the lifespan of asparagus plant.
Wow.
So, but for that you have to take care of it. This asparagus, we already harvested it, and now we're stopping the harvest for the season. We went strong for like 8 weeks, but then it hurts a lot because it's a great money maker, and you know, like it's so tasty, but you just have to stop. When the spears, which are these guys, are coming right out of the ground.
Coming out of the ground.
Just like this, we come and we
way down
slice
there.
them.
So you don't slice it like up here, you go right out of the ground.
No, right out of the ground. Actually, you kind of dig into the ground.
Okay.
And then you get asparagus that's like edible.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's like, it hasn't opened at all.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Sometimes we even have to harvest this twice a day. It's just amazing.
Wow, really?
And yeah, and it's just the same amount, just twice a day, but they're all this size.
Speaking of size, we move on to their pigs, who seem to be really hungry. The farm raises 2 breeds of pigs, the traditional Yorkshires, and a more special breed, who are raised for charcuterie and their finer cuts of meat.
So pigs.
Yeah.
Tell me about your pigs.
Yeah, so we have these 4 Kuni pigs.
Kuni, okay.
Kunis, yeah. They are actually like the most gentle kind of pig that I've ever like have the privilege to raise.
It seems so docile. Like
They're so docile, and you can
Yeah.
like pet them, and they love like having their bellies rubbed. And
they're so
yeah,
stubbly.
yeah, I know, and they're kind of easy to manage because they don't like pigs. What they do is that they root around, so they like flip the soil upside down, and they kind of like work the soil. These guys, they kind of just like mow the ground, and they like fall asleep and
So they're
eat.
like polite, happy pigs.
Yeah, exactly. They're really easy, and everything that they eat comes like from the kitchen, from the 10 Acres kitchen. So whenever the cooks are cooking, they have an orange bucket there. That means pig food, and then we pick that up 2 times a week, cook it here, and and then we just serve it.
Do they ever stop eating? Like we've been here.
No, I've heard if their bellies start dragging in the ground that like you have to like do something that they're like too fat, but we're not quite there yet.
Oddly enough, now I'm hungry. So I wander up to the farmhouse to meet Chef Katrina, who is just finishing up some plating.
That's the asparagus that we were just picking, right?
Yeah, totally, from out on the farm.
That's amazing. What are we doing with it?
Well, we're going to make a dish that's actually a really classic one in the restaurants.
Okay.
We're going to use a little bit of mint from our farm and fava beans we already did into puree. So it's nice, creamy, rich, bright. And then we're going to have this grilled asparagus with charred lemon.
Love it.
Super classic and clean, but like really brings out that sweetness that's like in the asparagus. Yeah. You taste that true, authentic, organic flavor from 10 acres.
The farm-grown fava bean puree is spread onto the plate, and on top goes the fresh asparagus with a bright squeeze of lemon.
I like to grill it and get a little bit of char on it, and then I like to char the lemon too, because then you get the sweetness.
Yeah.
Like I said, the asparagus itself is sweet.
On goes fresh parmesan, radishes, and puffed rice to give it that crunch.
Then we have a little bit of fresh mint here, and then we'll garnish, because again, it's so bright, fresh from the farm when you guys are out there.
Love it.
Awesome. We are pretty much good to go.
And that's it. That looks so good.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to go eat that.
Dinner is served with a farm view, and Katrina has prepared a feast. We have the beautiful asparagus with parmesan, farm fresh confit duck legs with fermented berry jus, and I can't wait for this one, fresh strawberry shortcake.
Well, why serve this up? Let's talk about the wine that we have.
So we have the Answerf, that's a wild fermented wine. It's a Pinot Noir actually from old vines and single vineyard, hand-picked, so it's quite special.
Yeah, it pairs great with the asparagus. It really plays off so well.
Matches with the richness and the umami little bits that you get from the Parmesan there.
And can you tell us about the wine for the duck?
This one is all about the fruit, not about the oak. So it's very gentle oak, so it's more fruity, and then we have the stems that give this kind of greenish kind of flavors as well.
That duck is so good. It's so tender.
It's so tender.
Let's skip to the strawberry shortcake.
It has crumble in there, meringue, has a chantilly whipped cream. You know we're gonna have strawberries every year. And we're gonna have asparagus every year because, again, it's important to us to have those things. And then we're gonna bring new, innovative stuff that our chefs have worked on, their new ideas that are fun crops that we're trying out.
Thank you so much for showing me your food, and thank you so much for sharing the wine. I really appreciate it.
It's been really nice having you out here to enjoy it with someone.
My Flavour Trail adventure is over for now, and I've definitely enjoyed this farm-to-table experience. It's a chef's dream.